Good morning. What a delight to be here. I know that you are missing seeing Giovanni and Sorrel. They both are quite busy today on Monday, November 24th, the week heading into a holiday. And they called and asked if I would stand in. And there's something I've been talking a lot about in my workshop. So I thought, well, it's perfect timing. I would love to share it with you. So I hope you all are kicking off your gratitude practice in full swing this week. I know that I am. I've got a lot of family coming, and I'm going to put I guess that I'll put a halt on some of my work and focus totally on spending time in the kitchen, out in nature with loved ones. But let's get into our topic today. I have studied, as some of you know, studied the brain as it relates to human behavior and how we perform and what affects our mood and our ability to learn, and the list goes on. And something I've been studying a lot lately is something called intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators. And I'd like to share why that is. Now, a lot of this studies and research around motivators and what motivates a team can certainly be applied to entrepreneurs or solopreneurs when we open our minds and think how this affects us and why we are made the way that we are. But let's go back a little bit before I dig into the difference in extrinsic and intrinsic motivators and why that matters to us as individuals and for our teams. Let's think about how the world has changed today as it relates to the work that we do. So much of our work that we used to pay people to do, as you all know, is now automated. Now, why does this matter? I'll tell you why. Because work that is repetitive, like working in let's say if you work in a factory on a line, or you are manually calculating any type of work that has to be done over and over again, those jobs are going down. And the jobs that are coming up are the more innovative and more creative work, because we've got technology that can handle a lot of the repetitive work. And I share this because leaders have read these studies, but they can't seem to tap into them. What used to motivate teams no longer works anymore because teams' works are changing. It used to be that you could offer extrinsic motivators and that would get a team to perform at their highest level. What I mean by that is if your job is to fill boxes as quickly as you can, and your supervisor says to you, okay, we are going to offer a bonus. We're going to offer a $500 bonus if you can do 20 more boxes per day. That would get results for teams because it was simply speeding up your ability to deliver a quality product faster, less breaks, more focus, and it was motivating, and someone came home with more money. But today, if we offer those types of rewards, bonuses or amped up pay or gift cards or a free day off, anything like that, those very tangible extrinsic motivators, if we offer those to teams today, oftentimes their performance goes down. And I want to explain why that is and how we can tap into what actually motivates teams today. That the performance often goes down when we focus on extrinsic motivators like bonuses and rewards, because it floods the brain with something called cortisol. And when a team is supposed to be collaborating and innovating and creating something together, then all of a sudden they have this stress to get output faster. Their ability to perform goes down because they're more anxious. So the question is, what motivates us today? And here's what the research tells us. As long as you're making a solid, fair wage, now we got to get that out of the way, because if you're not paying your people well, or you're not earning a solid wage, that becomes the focus. If there's a lot of stress around how much money you bring home, and if you can support your lifestyle and your goals and your family, then all this goes off the table. But if someone is making a fair wage, what motivates people to perform better? And that's where intrinsic motivators come in. We are actually not as much motivated by anything that we can possess or own, like free items, money, things like that. What we're motivated by there are seven, but I'm going to just share the main five intrinsic motivators that motivate us as individuals and in teams. So if you are listening to this and you're an entrepreneur, I want you to really focus on what motivates you and how you can bring more of these focuses into your life. But the five intrinsic motivators are purpose, autonomy, growth, connection, and mastery. What's fun about these is we're all made different. We're all made differently. Some of us are more motivated by growth. Some of us are more motivated by autonomy. So I want to break those down. But what I want to encourage you to do is to really inspect these and ask yourself, how am I motivated? What am I most motivated by? And then it's also a great exercise to share this with your team and figure out what motivates those individuals. But we all have parts of us that are motivated by purpose, autonomy, growth, connection, and mastery. Now, I want to start off with purpose. If your organization has a powerful why or a beautiful mission that's making a difference in the lives of other people, that shouldn't just be words on a website. That should be referenced often with your team. And if you're working in a siloed setting, I want you to start to record and pay attention to the stories, to the moments with your work when you know that you're making a difference in the lives of others. Even if your work is very tactical and doesn't feel like it's an emotional work. Let's just say you have a painting business, you paint houses. That's not really what you do if you think about it. You're giving people a fresh, new space to call home. That makes a difference in the lives of others. So no matter what it is, if you prepare falafel from a food truck, you are delighting people. You're giving them a taste of comfort. So I want you to open your heart and mind and think about what your product actually does for people to make them feel good and to make their lives better. And we can tie ourselves back to that purpose, and that motivates our work to remind us why it matters. For example, I teach storytelling workshops. And when I see folks come together as a team, and then they communicate to me after that they've built a lot of trust, that motivates me to keep going, not the fact that they paid their invoice, for example. So you see the difference, focusing on purpose versus income, bonuses, any kind of dangling of a carrot, especially when we're doing innovative and creative work. All right, let's take autonomy. This one's probably my favorite, and I want to encourage you to watch a TED Talk by Dan Pink. I've probably watched this TED Talk. It's on the science of motivation. It's kind of old, but he talks about all these studies that I'm referencing in detail. And he's a great storyteller. He's quite funny, but I really encourage you watch the Dan Pink TED Talk on motivation. And he ends up focusing toward the end of his TED Talk, although I'm talking about 5 intrinsic motivators. He lists 3, but he really ends up focusing on autonomy. And autonomy is probably one of the top motivators, even though, get this, we're not aware of it. So what autonomy doesn't mean is I want to be left alone. So don't confuse autonomy with working in a silo. Those are not the same thing at all. Autonomy means to someone, my supervisors, my team, they trust me to make the decisions to get this job done. It means giving someone trust. So how do we do that? The best way to do that is to tell yourself as a leader, focus on the outcome and not the instructions. So what I'm really saying here is this is the opposite of micromanagement. Interestingly, folks that have a tendency to need to control people, not only what they accomplish, but how they do it, that's a lack of trust within themselves. So if you feel like you kind of have those tendencies, ask yourself what it is that you're not trusting. Folks need autonomy so that they can gain confidence in their value and what they contribute to the team. I had somebody working for me years ago. And I told her, I said, we need to change the way that we do the training to make it more interactive for our new sales reps. I said, I want you to build out the first few days of the training to be much more interactive. That's all I said to her. Well, she she must not have believed very much in herself because time rocked by and time rocked by. And she finally said to me, she said, Tara, just tell me exactly what you want me to do. That is a lack of confidence in yourself. So remember that autonomy builds confidence. The first way to do that is to show your people you trust them by giving them some freedom, not when to do the job, not how to do it, but what the outcome is. And when we give people that freedom, it builds their belief in themselves. All right, number 3 is growth. Most of us are motivated by not doing the same thing over and over again, but by seeing how we're growing as a professional, as a person. This doesn't necessarily mean growth so that I can get a promotion or so I can go get another job. It means growing so that we're not stagnating. Because once we begin to stagnate in anything that we do, the dopamine that's produced in our brain starts to drain. Boredom sets in. We lose focus. So as you may have heard folks say, that success is the first step toward failure. Once we think, okay, I've got this figured out, I've got this mastered, I can just go on autopilot, that's when errors take place. So we need to continue to challenge our teams and challenge ourselves. Don't ever let yourself think, okay, I've got this figured out. I'm just going to go on repeat, go on repeat, go on repeat. If you have built a system, which is not my strength, but if you've built a winning playbook, a system, I want you to challenge yourself to continue to tweak it, make it better, make it more powerful, share it with more people. We innately need to grow because if we don't grow, we will stagnate, we'll become bored, we'll lose that dopamine, and then we'll start to make errors and things will go in the wrong direction. Okay, the fourth one is mastery. Mastery is closely tied, as you might imagine, to growth, but mastery is more measurable. We need to be able to see on a board through communication that we are winning, that we are making progress. And when we remember this about our folks, it's really important to give feedback. So let's kind of take together growth and mastery to talk about what kind of feedback we can give to our folks. It is so easy, and forgive me for saying this, so lazy, and we all do it, to say things like, awesome job, great job, wonderful, pat on the back, and keep going. And then we say, yes, I tell my team how much I appreciate them and how great they're doing. People need to hear why you think it was a great job. Tell someone specifically what you saw in their work and why it mattered to you, to the team, to the mission, anything like that. Say, I saw the sacrifice that you made. I saw the extra effort that you put into this report. When you gave your presentation, I could see how passionate you were. You've really made progress in being authentic. Anything specific like that is golden for a team member. It shoots up something called serotonin in the brain. It gives people confidence and makes them feel proud of their work. So I want to encourage you to give very specific feedback when it's positive. And when you see opportunities for people to grow, that's another way to tap into their intrinsic motivators of growth and mastery by sharing with them areas where they can improve. And when we do that, combining it with sharing why we think they're such a valuable member of the team. So when you combine the critique or the suggestion for improvement with their great skills, then they'll be able to see how amazing they can be if they continue to grow. We need to be challenged, but we need to be challenged, but we need to also be able to believe that we're capable of this growth. And when we allow our teams and ourselves, remember this is about you too, when we find ourselves challenged and we believe that we can grow to meet that challenge, we can tap into something called flow state. And that is the most powerful way to perform. It's when we kind of lose all sense of time, things are difficult, but we believe in our ability to continue to perform. We tap into flow state and performance skyrockets. So remember those two, growth and mastery, together. And then the last one, sometimes we forget about this. But the last one is connection. Our team, and even again, if you're an entrepreneur, we need connection with others, deep, trusted connectivity. We need this feeling, this sense of belonging, especially for you entrepreneurs. It can be lonely out there. So when your head is down and you are working solid day in and day out in your phone, on your computer, I want to encourage you to take time to build relationships with your clients and prospects and vendors that aren't only specific to your work. So I want to say that one more time. Take the time to build relationships with clients, vendors, and prospects that are not only specific to the work. That's how relationships flourish. Also, certainly with teams, make sure that you're making time for them to get to know each other outside of what needs to be communicated to reach their KPIs. Make sure that you're making time. And I also want to encourage real team building activities. Some people are natural at building relationships, but some people aren't. So just to take people to a ball game or take them out to dinner is not the same as offering real team building exercises. That's what builds connection in teams. And if you're an entrepreneur, or as I said, a solopreneur, please take the time to make connections with the people with whom you can communicate outside of just the work conversation. I know it doesn't feel efficient, but it also will fire up something inside of your brain called oxytocin, which is the most sustainable energy you can get. So take the time to invest in relationships, and you'll get that back in return because of your performance and your energy and your ability to stay focused. So what I'd like to do now is just summarize these. And if any of these make you have any thoughts, questions, or you want to weigh in, I would love to hear that. But a reminder that today, folks are much more motivated than ever before because of the way that the workflow has gone, and because so much of the work that's repeatable is automated by technology today. We've got to motivate ourselves and our teams with the intrinsic motivators. And those top 5 are purpose, autonomy, growth, mastery, and connection. So I'd love for you to kind of explore, ask yourself which of those you think you're most motivated by and what you can do to bring more of that into your life and to your teams. So that's my TED Talk for today, y'all. I'd love to hear any comments, questions, or thoughts about this before we jump out of here.
Hi, Tara. Good morning.
Hello, Fareed. So great to hear your voice and see you.
Oh, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for an excellent presentation. And those 5 points that you spoke about, purpose, autonomy, growth, mastery, and connection, those are important. One of the things I wanted to bring up was that you spoke about when you're in a job and you stagnated because of growth. And I'll tell you from a personal point of view, I have left jobs because of that. I have left jobs because I was stagnated, doing the same thing over and over and over, and it became too repetitive, and I wasn't seeing myself growing or getting more knowledge, and because of that, I end up leaving the job, looking
Wow.
for a job that is more challenging, and looking for a job where I can be promoted and grow, and for self-development as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
What you have said is applicable to a lot of people because we know today that retention is a huge challenge for companies. And if people don't have the opportunity to grow, they will go somewhere where they believe that they will. And especially the younger generations, if they don't have the connectivity and the opportunity to grow, they're not looking to work at the same company for 30 years like maybe I was or my parents were. They're looking to build their career, build their resume. So if they're not really connected and they're growing, they're going to be looking, and that's how we lose valuable people. So thank you for that reminder. I hope you all will be able to take these intrinsic motivators and apply them to your work and to your teams. And I'm going to sign us off. I have missed doing this, so I'm going to sign us off in the way that I remember doing when I was doing the daily huddle. I don't know. It's been many months now, but I certainly miss it. So I want to remind us all to lead with love. Leave with love too, but lead with love. It's easy to say, but I heard someone say something recently, and it really stuck with me. Her name is Laura Whitaker, and she runs an organization called ESP, which she founded for us, people with special needs, and it has just exploded. And she was interviewed recently, and someone asked her if she had something that guides her each and every day. And will never forget what she said. She said, yes, I ask myself, what does love ask of me today? And I just thought that was so beautiful. So ask yourself this, what does love ask of you today? And oftentimes that might lead us to our second tenet, which is to give. Remember to give not only from your pocketbook. There's so many ways to give: by listening, by opening your mind and considering a different perspective, of giving of your time, your talents, bake something for somebody, listen. And then let's see what else is on the list. I have jotted them down because it's been a while for me. I always remember we want to take time to laugh. Don't take yourself too seriously. As I've said to y'all before, when we laugh, we get endorphins flowing, which is a beautiful energy. So take time to laugh, especially with people that you love. And then make sure that you're reducing your stress by eating more plants, drinking more water, getting your sleep. You will perform better. And then certainly make sure that you remember to exercise, to move that body. And as Ice Cube said, check yourself before you wreck yourself. This has been so much fun being back here with you all today, and I will see you all soon. Thank you for coming to Giovanni and Sorrell's Leadership Huddle. Bye, you all.